Hey guys, Jake here. We're at Pear Tree Ranch and we're working with Nobella. So this is Eval, good friend of ours, Margaret, helped start this horse. This horse has been to ticks on a couple of short little stints, and we've been having trouble with no forward, then explosive forward, then bucking and sunfishing and all the things we don't want. Yes? Is that a good, okay? So the owner's here to watch. They brought her in. So we're gonna go over and poke some buttons. So far, real confident. You can see like real happy to be in the space. Like this doesn't bother. And so, you know, one of the first things for me is we gotta know 5 body parts: nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, hip. Okay? 5 body parts in 8 directions. Stand still, forwards, backwards, right, left, up, down, stand still. And so the nose right away is pushy. And that's the nose and the mind are the same thing. So we can say nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, hip. Another way to say that is mind, flexion, weight, feet. So notice when the nose there starts to get soft, that then we start getting flexion in the neck there, and then we start to get some relaxation. Okay? So the little like fussy, like the horse is here, we're getting the camera turned on, everybody's turning their phones off and all these things, and it's like I'm doing boo boo baby stuff on the horse, but really what I'm doing is feeling that stuff out. And see the difference now, the head and the neck is here and relaxed, and we're not having that head up and pushy feeling. Okay, and then it's easy to go back to the cuddly stuff. We can see we're plenty curious, we were fussing and fidgeting with the flags and things, and that curiosity and confidence is a good thing. We want that, but it needs to stay appropriate. And so just fussing and fidgeting with the nose. Can I catch that? See, that took a lot less to just catch it and block it, but not grab it and grip it. When it's here, the horse can move itself out and release itself, which is kind of a big part of where we need to get the horse to realize it can fit in the boundaries. So the reason we don't go forward is the reins are blocking, and then all of a sudden we pressure them hard enough that they run through the reins, but it's an explosive through the reins, and then the reins aren't working and we're out of control. So if we start with some nose control here, that'll help us get the mind in the mood. Good. We got our long shushy stick. This that's a 12-foot stick, and it allows me to give, and we went onto a long 22-foot rope. That way I have a lot of room to let the horse drift and not make the boundaries too tight too fast, till I kind of have the horse show me where the boundaries are. The nice thing that you know, the horse has been with people that we know, people that we've, you know, helped with plenty of horses. There's some congruency there, some teamwork feeling. So these kind of things like rubbing with the stick, that stuff doesn't have to be explosive. Now, one of the things that I like to look for is, can we start to shape that mind off the stick? And so bumping the nose and the neck till we start to think about putting the head down. Like, see the difference in the head up, 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 to there started to be a little bit of flexion in the chin there. There we go. And then the head starts to go down. So being able to have some pressure from the stick, not just the steady feel, and have that there. Okay? So there's a glimmer of that working there. And when they're overly confident, that's when we kind of run the thing of really starting to having to get into a little bit more pressure, because there's less natural sensitivity or worry about that, which turns into a little more of this and a little less of this. You know, the internet people don't love seeing the tough stuff. And I don't have to pick on that right now because the horse isn't being naughty yet. We're just a little desensitized more than sensitized, which I'm not saying that's pro or con, that's just where it's at, which is helpful that we can have brave. There we go. But But we want to be mindful of, if we overly desensitize, then we lose the potential for communication. So now we're just kind of doing forwards and backwards, right? So we did stand still stuff. We flirted with the nose and the neck. Now, how's our forward? Not horrible. Took a little bit of life, but not horrible. And then when we start bringing this stick down in the front, do we see it? Yes, we see it. Do we run through it? Do we just turn away? Do we pull away? Or do we kind of slow down? So, yay, we're winning. There. So that's putting the stick in the left eye to push it to the right. Sorry to interrupt your video, but really quick, we want to make sure that you know all the juicy content, step-by-step how-to training guides, that's over on Patreon. So if you want, there's a 4-part trailer loading video series, that's on Patreon. You want the 7-part lead chain series, that's on Patreon. So get over there, get signed up, join us there, and let's get back to this video. Good. Super. So now we have forwards and backwards, and we have little bits of rights and lefts. Good. Okay, so we got a little clumsy with our feet. We'll let it throttle back kind of on its own, just to see how long does that take. Not very long. Good. So it took us a little bit to get that going, but it didn't take forever to get that going. And we're kind of quick to throttle back after. So the horse is 5, so we're still, especially for an English horse, on the younger side. Good. Go fancy. So we can hear little tensions about the forward. Okay. And that little bit versus if I just cluck, cluck, and the horse is like, okay, and loped off. You can see our feet are a little bit uncoordinated there. That was better. And that's where I'm not pushing it fast, because the horse never been here before, horse doesn't know me, so I'd rather ease my way into it than effing do it right now. That's not a great way to make friends. And then we can kind of settle our way into the space, the environment, me, the little different things to recognize, oh, this isn't so hard. Good. Good. You're smart. Okay. Now, a lot of times we'd go to the sideways down the fence. For me, I'm feeling pretty confident that we might find us some sticky spots in the burpees. So I call this the horse burpee. Can we follow our nose and get turned around there? The nice thing that this horse has been with Tick and Margaret is they both have learned this move for me. Okay, so that works, but there's a lot of tension in the neck. The nose poked out and pushed against the halter. And that little spot is what you're running into with the reins. And when we get the nose and the neck and the shoulder a little more shapeable, then I think we make room that the hind leg can easier come forward and we don't run into that. And so what happens is the pressure on the face only means the W word. Very, very common with English sport horses because there's so much rein contact that the reins are always managing the forward on accident. We don't mean to do that, but it's just a very common thing with English horses. And so when we can have a little more of the reins mean flexion and the going and woeing be more working off of our seat and leg, we're gonna bump, bump. We're gonna see that start to work a little better. So I've got to get the horse to where it's almost faced away there before I can put any bumps or pressure on that nose to help it start to shape up. With it over the withers here and without a saddle, with a horn to pull on, you can't just pull, because if you just pull, it just pulls up the neck and makes things worse, okay? So we've got to learn to use the belly of the rope like this to kind of slap them and drive them, and then we can start running into this nose. And see if we can't get a little bit of flexion working off of that. And I'll just use the fence to help create the turn. Because until there, I can't really put more. I can put little glimmers to see if we'll start considering it, but I can't really get effective with that to help. Hey. There we go. See, there's a lot more flexion, but then we just pull with our nose away. There. And so then that way that neck dropped and a big lick and chew and that head shake right after, these are starting to be signs like that there, blowout. That was a really good one. That was an effective interruption of the lean and the brace with the pressure. So the horse went, wow, like it meant more on that one. Because that meant more, I'm going to be a little bit slower to the next go, just to kind of let that soak in and to observe the horse. There. Bonk. So we pulled our head away, and then the timing, bump, bump, of running into that slap where it's like the head was here and the head pulled away. Dang it! Versus if it goes pull away and then I just that comes more about me. The timing is off there. So it's a better chance of the horse being upset about me versus going, why did I run my head into whatever that was over there? There, see how now the pressure pulled through the neck and it goes all the way through the body to the hip. So we have a nose, starting to have more of a nose to the hip connection. That brain is working all the way through the body. And again, we get way lower head, licking a chew, and halfway to kind of blowing out after. See, we're just running through the hands. So that was, if you're on this horse in the reins, we just ran off through the reins. The fun thing about the round pen is I always win. I'm always in position to be in front. So you could keep running and running, but I promise I'll always be here in front of you. You're not beating me. So I don't have to increase the pressure too fast and try to force it. But I just keep setting up to go ahead and try that. How's that working for you? It didn't work. The training term for that would kind of be exhaustive behavior. Go ahead, run by me. How's that working for you? And they just, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. They finally kind of start to give it up and try something different. Bump, bump on the nose. There, see how that bump went kind of through the nose and added some flexion. See, now the backwards there working much better. Now, it needs to mean turn. And why this is such an effective technique is because it's so tight against the neck, it really can confuse the horse about which is backwards and which is right or left, because that just feels very backwards on them. However, that rein is only on the right side of the neck. There. And so we're not running off through it, but we're not feeling that subtle difference, and that pressure is only on that right side. Good. So we'll just kind of keep setting this up till the horse starts to consider more about right, less about backwards. I don't mind the backwards because the last round we just ran through the backwards. Bump, bump, bump on the nose. There. There we go. So before the bump got there, the nose tucked. There, that went through the body to the hind leg. There. And the horse is just going to see the opportunity to turn right, and then all the pressure will just disappear. But we're still thinking about pulling our nose away and throwing it in the air. So we just have to persist. And this stick is so light and fragile, you can't really beat them into submission, right? You can't, the stick will just break. It's so fragile at the end there. So it mostly makes noise and then little tap taps. There, see, it's starting to change. It's starting to change the mind before the stick gets there. The horse is like, man, I really want to start thinking that direction. Now, this technique you can do where you make it a pattern and the horse understands the pattern versus really being committed to the yield when I just pull on the rope and the horse follows the nose. And that's probably where, because we saw right away the horse was like, oh, this is familiar to me. Okay. But if we haven't pushed this enough, and we've been reliant on the pattern where they sort of kind of get it, there's not enough commitment, and that's where we're finding still some lacking here. Pull your nose, get the bump. There. You're a good kid. Now, there is a timing to this exercise that when they get it just right, we can kind of know the timing by using a little sound effect there. So there's a Disney Pixar movie, Big Hero 6. You know the one I'm talking about? Okay, with Baymax, the nurse robot that turns into like a superhero. And there's the scene where the little boy and the robot, and he teaches it to do a fist bump. And he goes, no, you got to blow it up at the end. And when the robot blows it up, he goes, da-da-da-da-da. See how that's the right timing for that turn? And so what's happening is because the horse is late, it's getting the bump. Versus if it just went with the right timing, and that timing, that sound effect, that sound bite is consistent. Okay? Come on, you're so close. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay? So I'll know when the horse really has kind of got it because it's going to fit in that timing. And when it fits in that timing, it's not going to get bumped with the stick or slapped with the rope, okay, bumped with the rope. It's a herding. When I do this, I'm herding the horse. I'm going, hi-ya, giddy up, ya, horsey, ya. And the only reason we got the bump is because we were late. Okay, you're late to school, you get the tardy. You get 4 tardies, you go to detention. That's the way it works. It doesn't matter. Well, you should have left earlier for school, not get in the traffic and be late. Okay. Da-da-da-da-da. So see, that was a perfect round. The horse did the flexion softly off of just the rope, stood there, which I don't mind. I clucked as if to say, yes, you may move. Yes, please move. Horse went, okay, and turned around there. And so that's when we start seeing that the horse is fitting in the timing, in the pressure. But see, we didn't get our nose flexed. The timing was off. Watch. Go. Da-da-da-da-da. You're late. Da-da-da-da-da. You're late. Da-da-da-da-da. You're late. That makes sense? And so when we get comfortable with what is the right timing, the right footfalls, the right space to fit in, it helps us know, am I supposed to be the term whack 'em or rub 'em? There. Just use pressure or use relief, okay? But because we're late, we get the pressure. Da-da-da-da-da. You're late. You're getting the pressure. Da-da-da-da-da. You're late. You're getting the pressure. You're in the hot lava. There's lots of different ways that we explain it. You're late. And when we start getting in the direction, like playing it's getting warmer, the pressure backs off, but we pulled our nose. So we're back in the pressure. Now we got on track. Pressure backs off. Pulled our nose, we get in the pressure. So when we, yeah, I know, that was hard work. You got to get committed to the idea. Now that took long enough. We're going to let this soak a little bit longer instead of rushing right back to it. Got to give the horse time to process. And all I'm starting to look for now is the commitment to it, not sorta, kinda. Be committed to it. We joke about different layers of commitment, right? There's the we can hang out on Friday nights commitment, but I'm not calling you my girlfriend. Okay, then there's, all right, well, yeah, this is my girlfriend. Who is that? This is my girlfriend. Versus like, Mom, this is my girlfriend, right? Introduced to the mother. Change your Facebook status. There's different levels of commitment there that we've got to go through. Then there's like the ultimate commitment, right? Notebook movie, holding hands on the deathbed. No amount of anything could ever get in the way of the commitment to the idea. Now, so there's the idea of, oh, you're just drilling the horse. We're not drilling. How do we know, what would be the difference? If I just kept going, and again, there's this time in between to make sure there's relief. Not just release of pressure, but the release of the pressure causes relief. Okay? That's when the horse will put more effort into it. Now, I use the example, when you're driving down the highway, there is not a rest area every 2 miles. Okay. You start to really appreciate that blue sign when it's been an hour or two, you had 3 cups of Starbucks, and you really got to pee, and you're doing the pee-pee dance in the front seat, and you finally see that blue sign, 2 miles, rest area. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, phew. The release of the pressure causes relief. That feeling, we've all felt it. Oh, phew, I made it. That's only comes when there is pressure. If you don't experience any of that pressure, you're not, phew, oh, I felt amazing. So we have to balance. You can't just give them the cookies. There has to be discomfort that causes change. Okay? Change only comes from discomfort early on. Then it takes less and less discomfort because there's enough appreciation of the comfort. Okay, there's got to be enough appreciation for that comfort to where I can then use more and more of just comfort. Hi, you will have an itchy face. See, as I drew on the rope right there, that hip kind of came with it. We're starting to continue to get glimmers of the horse following the rope more and needing the stick or the herding pressure less. Good. Go. There. Now, we've continued to stay on the same side. That way, there's consistency. The horse doesn't have to question or wonder. It's the same answer. We're doing the same answer, the same puzzle over and over here. There we go. Ah, that was a real good one.
Does this normally take this long?
Yep. Yeah, this can take long. The question was, does it normally take this long? In reality, this isn't this long. Now, it can go faster if they haven't already learned to lean. But we have some lean in the face. We have resistance that now we're having to go through the resistance. I think I can. This weird thing happens. People steal stuff. Did you know that? That's so weird. I thought we all knew. Isn't that illegal to steal? Why does that happen? Well, some places in America, if it's less than $1,000, you can just take whatever the F you want, and they're not going to call the police, and they don't do anything about it. These guys go into Walmart, find the big screen TV that says $9.99, and walk out with it and just smile and wave. And nobody does a thing about it. That is so weird. There's no consequence. Okay? Now, in other parts of the world, okay, we should all remember Aladdin takes an apple. What are they going to do? Chop his hand off. The consequence, it's an apple. Nope. The consequence is going to be extreme to say we're never going to have that happen again. So it's not just, kick in the pants, you're in timeout. It's we're going to chop your hand off. The consequence has got to meet the resistance. So I call it horse trainer math. If the horse is leaning with a 3, you can only stop the lean with a 3, but you don't yield it. A 4 beats a 3. Okay? It's just math. And so when the horse is leaning that amount, you got to go to that amount. Problem is, people don't like having to meet that resistance, right? Makes us feel bad, hurts our feelings, we feel sad. Okay? Oh, the babies. Yep, nobody likes it. But they sure like when the horse is really behaved, okay, after it's fixed. And that's the balance. You did the crime, you're going to pay the time. You leaned with a 3, you're getting a 4. That's the way it's got to work. Now, if you meet a 4 with an 8, you're probably going to scare them, and they're not going to like you. They're not going to want to be by you. You're going to have made a mess. And so we had to kind of maintain meeting the resistance till the horse kind of got the picture. No amount of resistance is going to work. Going with the program, going with the flow. Yes, sir, was a good answer. So now we switch sides. See how awkward that hind leg was off of that rein. Every time the horse comes back and faces, make sure they feel good about it. Thank you. Thank you for your effort. So we're feeling the pressure now. Doesn't quite know what to do here, but look, feeling, acknowledging the pressure. So until that effort and acknowledgement runs out, I didn't increase the pressure. As long as we're working, I'm going to let it be. But if we kind of quit working with our nose and our neck, I'm going to start to turn up the volume. There we go. Well, pressure over here to the right. Take your nose to the left. So that bump didn't get the hip, so I'll step to the hip and bump the nose again until we get the turn finished all the way. Not sorta, kinda. I like that. The tail shushes, the head is down. It's all telling me we're processing, so the computer has to finish its processing. Notice how I'm letting that slip and slide through my hand. I'm not just hard pulling on it. That's part of why we're on the longer rope. When the horse is learning, don't have the boundaries too tight, because then you're just pulling on them, it shuts them down. I like how that caught. We just got our nose going the wrong way. There. Horse felt it, worked its way through there. But see how we went up in the air? That's what's happening to you when you're riding. The reins are so close. When we ride, with all that contact, our hands get right here. It's so tight against the neck, they can't tell right or left. They just feel trapped. Okay, so they can't go right or left, they can't go forward. And then we put the leg on so you can't go backwards. All that's left is up and down. So it leads to rearing, bucking, sunfishing. There we are. So this is one of those moves that really can help fix all those pieces, because even with that tight feel of that rein against the neck, they learn to feel the subtle difference, and that's on the left side of the neck only. And so they know, well, just all the way through my body to the hip, I can get myself unbound, unwound. And then eventually, so my hand was here, I slipped that much rope. Eventually, you don't have to slip any rope, okay? They just turn underneath there. I know, I see that you're ready. You're doing good. Almost made it. There goes that hind leg. That hind leg stepped and crossed underneath. So now I got a good timed moment where I could go bump, We could hear that of the holding the breath and the tension because we weren't ready to breathe, which releases the ribs and makes room for the hind leg to fit underneath. Beautiful. But keep going. Your nose. Good. More pull, got me more turn with the nose and neck. Now, it didn't go all the way through the body, but I like the way that that's starting there. More pulls getting me more flexion. There we go. Then I'd cluck to say, yeah, move your feet. Yeah, move your feet. Not pull your nose. Thank you. There we go. Giddy up. Bump, bump. Because the pressure's got to be there like a wall that the horse ran itself into. That timing and right amount of pressure just takes a lot of practice and a lot of screwing it up and trying again. Now we're cooking. Good job. Thank you. Good. That was a good one. That was a good one. It was decent in quality, but it was kind of a really good correction, or where the horse ran into the pressure, because the way that look after was is just something that tells on that. So it's for the few times before, right, I was pretty quick back to the burpee. But that last one, we just stood there a little bit longer. We know we're kind of getting in there when we start getting those noises. We're getting into the sensitivity again. Nose, neck. Nose, neck. Nose, neck. The next thing you'll see is hopefully that right front foot will step forward. Here it comes. Oh, almost. Almost. The right front will come forward. The left hind will step underneath. Okay? But if we don't understand the footfalls, we won't know to be able to watch for that and and see when it's coming together. There's that right front to that left hind leg. Weird. That is so weird. So now there's 2.5 in a row of like really clean. We let it soak. And then we start making a game out of, can I trick you? Can I go from the right side to the left side? And are you really paying attention, or are you just doing a pattern? Okay, so now we'll go back to the right side. Do you feel it? Horse went to go to the left. Now there's some pressure over there. Well, there's only pressure on your left side now. Don't run into me. I'm not moving my feet. You move your feet. So when you really start getting those yields and changing their mind, you saw a little bit earlier, the horse wanted to rub its face, and they're just like, okay, babies do it when right before they fall asleep. They get all bothered, so we've gone through some bother. Then when we get, and right before the baby falls asleep, you this. Okay, horses do the same thing. When you start getting really good releases, they want to rub their face. Then they start thinking about laying down and rolling. They just kind of let all that. Look at how sweaty we are. How much work did we actually do? No. It's because it's in the mind. We're rooting that out. What's nice about this horse is the horse handles the pressure and doesn't want to blow up. So when you're getting to those explosive times, we've just really pushed it. And I don't think you're doing anything horrible, but that's, the horse feels like you've really pushed, that I have to go to that level of explosiveness to save myself. Versus we're starting to get into getting this horse so thoughtful about getting itself out of these binds. Read the rope. Don't run into me. I don't move. There. Now, because that was hard enough, I'd stay on that same side. Because we're trying to build up there. Look out. Don't run into me. I know I'm crazy. So active with your hind leg. I know your dressage instructor will be impressed. So that was a good one. That was a good one. You're so good. That was a good one. Well, what do you know? So now we're reading the situation. We're reading the rope. We're getting our nose and neck shaped up. And then the body is following all the way, even in that tight little turn. And it, again, it is very counterintuitive because you're teaching the horse to turn away from you. It's so tight against the neck. It feels very backwards, but it is on the right side of the neck. Okay? It's a very clear little puzzle, like, well, just get yourself out of that bind. It's like learning to do a Chinese finger trap. Okay? It's a simple puzzle, but it triggers our instincts, and we pull, and you're stuck. Okay? You have to learn to do the opposite. That's, in the scheme of things, really not that stuck, really not that horrible. We got a lot working. Where you go from here. Okay? Inside leg, inside rein. How we doing? What time is it? Okay. So that would be a day 2. Would go, okay, cool, let's saddle up, make sure we're good with the saddle, and then ride. And if I'm on the horse, I'm thinking inside leg, inside rein. You really got to give the outside and the leg too until they follow that nose around there. And so you would go from leg yield them out. This might catch them a little bit, to then release, and do they follow their nose? There's that burpee. And then you would allow them to go straight, inside, new inside leg and rein. Outside might catch a little bit for a little leg yield. Release, do they follow their nose? That's the horse choosing to turn. Okay, there's a whole series over on Patreon, YouTube. Okay, that's where all that stuff, the good videos are. There's a whole series on getting horses to choose to turn from the saddle, from the ground. That's a part of what this is. You can't pull that horse around there. You have to get them choosing to turn. Then you can kind of have the boundaries on the outside. The horse figures out how to just turn in the middle here. There's all these walls from the rope and the stick, right? Horse tried the boundaries out there, ran into the rope. Tried the boundary in here, got the booty slap. Pretty quick, we're just turning right underneath. And that's, when we get that leg yield working better, and that inside leg to outside rein, should sound very familiar, that is where the stuck spot is happening. And so we just have too much of this, 2 reins, which just causes them to feel like smothered. The horse just, they can't, and they're just pulling back and exploding to just get free, feeling smothered. Okay, imagine that's how the horse is feeling in its mind. It's not, okay? It's not actually being smothered, but it makes it feel that way. So then it triggers those bucking, rearing, fighting responses. But when it's really clear, especially those inside aids, and you get these kind of quality turns, they just, whew. And that's how, this stuff should be happening before, this strong, before the first few rides. And that's like where in 10 rides, we're doing dressage. You're doing your shoulders in, you're doing leg yields, you're making these beautiful little turns, and you're halfway to pirouettes in a short amount of rides when they don't have any of the leans there. And they're not scared. That's the nice thing about this horse. We're not unconfident. We're super winning. There's a lot of stuff that gets held back because of the confidence. This horse, you're only being held back by lack of yielding, which wasn't that hard. Okay, wasn't that hard. And it didn't really take that long. So it's 10:15. We would have started about 9:15 by the time we got the halter and the camera turned on. That's an hour. What's the ticker on the clock say? 54 minutes session. That's less than an hour. That's just a normal horse training session. And for first exposure to me, we took our time, felt our way in there. Oh, let me rub your back first. Kind of make friends that way the horse, ropes on the ground, horse isn't rushing off, does not feel bad about any of the pressure that I did, and is that much more settled. Sleepy eye, head is down, tail is softly shushing. We kind of did right and got that change in here. Okay, any questions?
What do you suggest next with her? Do you
I will, if you can bring it back, like come back, let's do the ride and I'll show you that. Okay, and then that makes sure it's a clear presentation. so you understand exactly what I mean. There's times where my mouth says one thing, but your ear processes something different, and the two did this thing. And it's like, we need this to happen. So when I explain something that you go, I understand, and not like, I get it. Your mouth is saying one thing, but you didn't really get, well, I want to make sure that you're very confident and comfortable with what I mean by that. And so a picture is a lot of times worth 1,000 words. And then it would be, now let's do a session or two of lesson. Can you understand how to do that and reproduce that? Because that would be a simple little warm-up thing. This horse doesn't need a whole lot of walk, trot, cantering around and get worn out. But this, are you in the mood? Okay, I see the reels on Instagram. How to know when my wife's in the mood by her pajamas she's wearing. And it's like, shows the guy, and he looks, and she's got on the super baggy and the thing, and he's just like, goes back to eating his cereal, versus he looks up and she's got on the cute stuff, and he's like, woohoo! Okay, we got to read the situation, and this burpee tells me what's going to happen. It just is a measuring stick that goes, yep, I know exactly what this is going to turn into. And that's why, for me, this is such a great technique. Okay, and I'll tease. If I only had one groundwork technique I was allowed, it would be this. It wouldn't be cantering around on a circle, wouldn't be shishing the flag around to teach them their head down. It would be this, because a burpee is, okay, there we go, push-ups, squats, star jumps, mountain climbers. It's all of those exercises in one exercise. And so it's like, you don't got to go to the gym for an hour. If you just did 10 minutes of burpees every day, you'd be puking and feeling much fitter after, a bit of that. And that is the point of why I call it that. Because you're getting all the directions with all the body parts. So nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, hips, stand still, forwards, backwards, right, left, up, down, stand still. You're getting all that stuff in one technique or exercise, and that starts to get them really fitting together and following their nose and being thoughtful and solving a puzzle. Does so many things with one thing. So it's more than a 2-for-1 special. It's like, buy one, get 5 free. I know. There you go. There you go. Okay, does that help? Yeah. Good. I know you feel better. Okay, thank you guys for following along and sticking with us. I really love showing the whole process and giving you longer form videos instead of cutting out and being like, look, magically in 20 minutes I did this move and it fixed it. It takes time, it takes energy. There is a process to this, and you got to give it the time, and you can't just wish it to be better. You can't just hope and pray it to be better. You can't just feed them cookies to make it better. It takes all the things. So cuddly time and knock on the nose with a stick time. All right, I'm Jake. We're at Pear Tree Ranch, and we'll see you next time.